I say good morning to Inspector Thompson.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jazzy, and good morning to everyone out there in Radio Land, or however you may be tuned into this program. Welcome to another edition of Policing with You. And as Jazzy said, I'm your host for today, Inspector Marvin Thompson. And of course, as is the norm, we have Jazzy sitting in today, and she will be assisting, sharing in the conversation this morning. For this morning's program, I'm just going to be sharing or making an appeal to our parents. The summer months are upon us. It's summer vacation.
Yes.
And we will have the children out of school. What normally happens during the summer is that we often see an uptick in offenses, criminal offenses and other infractions that involve our children. I'm just making a special appeal today for us to get our children involved in positive activities to, even if not stop the activities, negative activities, at least significantly reduce it, because we get our children involved in something of a positive nature. And that has to be a consistent, concerted effort. So that is what we're going to be talking with. And for those who are listening, of course, as always, you're welcome to share your points and your views.
So, you said that at this time, you have an upsurge in crimes, things happening regarding children. So do we have the same a lot? When I was younger, we'd have prank calls. Do you still experience a lot of that?
We do have prank calls, but not to anything that is, let's say, alarming. And I say that loosely, but any prank call is alarming because it takes away resources from something that might be genuine. But we don't have a lot of that. What we usually have with the children is the larceny, what we would call from our professional standpoint, simple larceny. Some break-in, so they might go in somebody's house, they might go on somebody's property. Those normal incidents, but often is that it involves our young people. School age, 15, 16, and younger, as young as 8, and those things.
So these, but adults related to these crimes? Or?
Sometimes, yes, but often it's just children, I would say, idle hands. They prefer work for idle hands.
Yes.
Sometimes it just appears that it's just idle hands and bad company doing negative things that we find that the children end up in those circumstances. The unfortunate thing, or the challenge, let me put it that way, the challenge is that for certain age, our laws, the Child Justice Act, instructs us, directs us to do certain things with children. Anyone under the age of 18 is considered a child, and the procedure or process of dealing with them differs in some respects very much from how we would deal with an adult, someone 18 or older. In our laws and in most laws across the world, there is an age of responsibility, an age where the law determines that a child can now be held responsible for the particular actions. But that would mean the converse is true, that there's an age up to a certain point where the law determines that a child is not responsible for his action, regardless of what that action might be. For us in the Federation, that age is, under 12. So our law says that a child under the age of 12 cannot commit a crime.
Oh, okay.
It means then, while a child might commit an action or be involved in an activity which for somebody at the age of 18 may be a serious infraction, a serious offense against the laws, For a child under the age of 12, that is not the case. The law outrightly presumes, determines that despite what the facts might be, that child cannot be convicted for the particular act as an offense. They cannot commit an offense.
So how do you deal with that?
Well, we have a structure in terms of the Child Justice Board. So, these offenses are these. I don't want to say offenders because,
Yes.
but these child who, well, the official term is children, a child in conflict with the law,
Okay.
are diverted to a different system. So there is a committee that has a session and they determine the course of action that would be taken to assist the child in making better choices. But it diverts them away from the usual criminal system, the courts, the official courts, and definitely the prisons.
So what part does the parents play in all this?
Officially, parents are the primary person. They are primary guardians. They are primarily responsible. Unfortunately, regardless of how responsible the parent might be, the child, in the case where I mentioned, as long as the child is under 12, there might be some civil responsibility, liability,
Okay.
but criminal liability, there is none for the child, but there might be some civil penalty
Okay, for the parents.
for the parent. Someone might want compensation, or there might be an activity that happens that requires that the person who was aggrieved get some compensation. That is not off the books. That is not off the books. And there are some of the laws which makes parents culpable for the offenses of their children.
Okay.
So there is something. So it still behoves us as parents to speak to our children, train up our children in where we want them to go.
That's right.
And get them involved in activities from an early age. You were playing some music just before this show started, and we're talking about the nostalgia. When I was in primary school, we had a number of associations. I joined the Boy Scouts.
Yes, that's right.
When I was 10 years old. That was the age when you were allowed to join.
Yes.
So I joined the Boy Scouts at 10. I only stopped going to Boy Scouts when I became a police officer after the job didn't allow me to properly participate. But those kind of activities help to shape persons into the kind of citizens that we want them to be. But it primarily goes back to the parent, guardian, or whomever is in charge of the children to get them involved in these activities. Expose them to positive activities, sports,
That's
cricket.
right.
During summer, there is a host of camps that goes on.
But
Get
the-
them involved.
Yes. What about the police, though? Do you have camps?
We have camp. We actually have the summer camp that is supposed to start this month. I think it's can give you a date. Yes, the 20th to the 31st, the usual summer football camp. And that is something, while the football is the vehicle, they are taught a number of life skills, soft skills.
Okay.
So that and other camps or activities like that are things that we need to get our children involved in. Money is always a talk, but
Yeah.
some of the camps are not very expensive. You can speak for person's pocket, yes, but you're talking about the children. And sometimes for our children and for the future, days and hours, we need to make some sacrifices. You know, the police camp, the summer football soccer camp is a $50 registration. That,
Okay.
and I say it without any, well, what is it, recrimination, that $50 as an investment in your child's future is meager.
That's true.
And given that the returns that you can get and what you want for your children, if you're wanting the best, then that may be a sacrifice that you should make in the best interest, the long-term interest of the child. It may be an immediate squeeze, but in terms of the long-term results that we're looking for, it is necessary to make certain sacrifices for the best interest of our children.
So how long has the camp been going on?
I think it's around 4 years or something around that. I'm not sure, but I know it's around that thing. Fairly youngish, but it has been a successful camp by all regards.
I thought it was longer. 4 years?
I don't think it's more than 5 years.
Okay.
In terms of the actual camp that they're doing now, at least the format. They have always had they have had the grassroots activities for a number of years, and they still have the security forces grassroots program, but I think this has been just around 5 years.
What about, you had, well, I remember something called DARE. My sons were in it.
DARE, I remember DARE was the Drug Education Assistance Program. That, I think that lost funding, or there was a turn away from that. But we had the Molefields and a program that was a part of police. We still have the National Intervention Team that's a part of our community policing program, where we have officers still going to the schools. They as well have camps, and they are involved in the summer camp. They also have an Easter camp program. They have part of a drum corps. So from a police standpoint, we're doing things. But this needs to be, as always, when it comes to our children, a whole society approach.
Yes,
we all
that's
need to put our hands in the mix and do what we need to do for the betterment of our children.
So have you, you said this camp is only 4 years old, and they have older organizations like Molefields. So have you seen any of the children transitioned into policing, became police officers? Do you know of any?
Not necessarily. Well, I can't speak to that personally. However, I know for sure in terms of other organizations counting on some of the programs that we might have put on as police, that we have a few who came out of some of those programs and transitioned into policing. And maybe that is an avenue that we need to do a bit more work on.
Yes.
But again, while police and some other organizations do this, we need to make a special effort, especially during the summer months when the children are out of the normal school system, to get their minds occupied with something that are positive.
Now, we spoke about the children, that is the under 13 or those who cannot be under 12.
Yes.
Right? What about the teenagers and
well, the level
how do you deal with them?
The level of culpability for teens under 18, that is different. It's varied. It depends now on the severity of the crime. And, sometimes if that person is known, or if it's a first offense, the law takes everything into consideration, even the social background. And that is a standard in most, even criminal proceedings for adults. The court normally asks for a social inquiry on the persons to get an overall view of some. So they would have an idea of maybe some of the contributing factors to why a person might be behaving or might have gotten themselves involved in certain activities. While you're still responsible for the choices you make, sometimes there are persons who genuinely would have preferred to take a different path, but who have had circumstances which made them feel like the choice that they had to make was the only option.
Okay.
And you would want to help persons and show them that there are different options, different choices. If we can put programs in place to assist those kind of persons, then we get the benefit of having productive citizens, as opposed to persons who go down a life of crime or wrongdoing.
So can you if you realize that a teenager getting into trouble and you know them, can you take them under your wing, or are you
Sure.
allowed to do something like that?
Of course, personally, I have done that a couple of times, and
Okay.
because sometimes we get judgmental, and yes, you might see a young person involved in certain activities, and sometimes our first interaction with them is condemnation, as opposed to just having a conversation,
That's right.
building a relationship, and then see how and if we're able to show them some different options and maybe help if we're able to.
Yeah.
And from my experience, personally and otherwise, is that if my first interaction with you is you pointing your hand in my face, you're likely to get a negative response, and you're less likely to be able to speak anything into me that I will be willing to receive. Because before you build relationship, you already pass the judgment. And sometimes you make a barrier. And definitely will put up a wall because you didn't come to me first with anything positive. And I don't know you.
That's
So
right.
I would ask you why you think you have the right to say anything to me. And we might feel that sometimes that the children are disrespectful when they behave that way. But sometimes it's us as adults in terms of how we approach things. So we too, again, have a part as adults. But again, it's us overall, not just the structure, the police, our government, but it's the community and the ordinary citizen, what we do, what we represent, that speaks to and what produces the citizens, the children, the youth that we have.
So do you have a success story where you mentored the child, and saw him elevate and such like that?
But I might have a few
That's great.
success and maybe not so much, but when I was involved in Scouts, my family, I guess in the village, was more or less regarded as the Christian family. No, I had no choice in terms of, not necessarily that I had no choice. If I wanted to live, then I needed to follow orders. That was the rule of the house. So church was the order of the day. Church, Sunday school was the order of the day. Mother said, you're going to church, and you're going to church. I often tell persons that my mother didn't make sense. She said whatever she was going to say, and that was that.
Yeah.
There was no long talk. It was that you're going to church and you're going to church. So we were involved in church. If there were 3 Sunday schools in the village, we went. Might be walking across the road with my face push up, but you go.
You're going still.
Old enough, young enough to see the difference in terms of when I remember a story I was telling persons, my first time I wanted to see what a dance was like is where Island Purified Water is in Newton Ground now. It was the Mountain View Disco. Small Axe Band was playing. My cousin and I wanted to see. Didn't ask anybody permission, just left the night and we sneaked out the yard and we went down the road, went to see. I didn't go inside, just went to peep to see what it was because that wasn't our thing. When I came back, his mother was outside. She saw us. Both of us got a lashing. I went up with my vexed face, went home. Mother saw me. She asked me what the matter was, and I was foolish enough to tell her the truth and got a second lashing. But those things don't happen nowadays.
I know, that's right.
I couldn't walk on the street and past adults and not say good morning.
That's right.
We didn't have cell phones, but before I reach home, my mother would know. And there would be some corrective
that
methods.
always baffled me.
Yeah. So my mother and our neighbor could have an argument. But I couldn't pass the neighbor
And not say good morning.
and not say good morning
No.
because they and my mother had an argument. Because my mother would pull me up and tell me that doesn't involve me.
That's
I'm
right.
supposed to do what I'm supposed to do. But some of those things are where we might be falling short. And make new friends, yes, but keep the old. We need to get back to some of those structures, some of those principles that undergirded our society. We often use the adage that it takes a village to raise a child. That is how it was.
That's right.
We didn't feel that anybody was minding anybody else's business. We just felt that it was the responsibility of the community to look after the children, to look after each other. So we need to get back to some of that and recognize
right.
that is who we were, that is what made us what we were, that is what propelled us forward. And if we're going to make any good success, then we need to get back to foundational principles like those which set us apart. So we need to do something about
I don't think that would ever happen.
It just takes effort. We have been exposed to a lot, and we seem to feel that what is outside is better than what we have or had. Not necessarily. It might be better, but while what we have may not be as polished, what we have was full of substance and not shallow like some of the things that the sea was holding on to.
That's right.
And unfortunately.
Just want to let the listeners know that the phone lines are open. You can call 465-1903 or 1977 or 662-8674. You're listening to Policing with You, and we are discussing the children as they go off to go into summer and we get into the vacation. What can be done, the things, to keep them busy, etc. Now, when I was younger, we used to hike.
That again, too.
But would you encourage that today?
Always.
Even camping, we used to go and camp, we used to go like to Frigate Bay and we will be over there something, But then again, things has really calmed down a lot, right? So I don't know if parents would be like maybe apprehensive in terms of having a camp over Frigate Bay where you go and you relax for the night.
Overnight. Well, I did a lot of that, yes. And while you may not even do something like that, there are overnight camps and there are day camps. There are swimming camps. The yacht club normally have something.
That's true.
I heard a commercial with Eldon with the swimming. Normally have something. You have cricket. I mentioned the football earlier. I know last year they had the pan and drumming at William Connor. So there's a host of things that we could expose the children to that would make positive impact on their lives. We just need to be consistent and do those things. I think we get too busy with our lives and
with the children,
I guess
and we
progress.
encourage the children so much to be on the games.
Yes.
That they don't go out. I remember our parents used to have to tell us, come inside, y'all outside all day, come in out the sun.
True.
Now we got to tell the children, go out in the sun, you need some sun.
True.
Because they're inside and they're watching TV or they're on the PlayStation and etc. And, but we used to be out there playing bat and ball and all kind of things.
Again, we have significantly changed how we behave, how we socialize. We usually call the phone the lifeline. So we are afraid to leave the oxygen and go outside and play.
Yeah.
And I tell my children, put on the phone for a bit. They feel like it's punishment. Sometimes I had to cultivate a thing. Well, I might do cold turkey and say don't touch
Yeah.
the phone at all. But for now, so sometimes we go to eat and the policy is for the first 10, 15 minutes or so, leave the phone. I leave mine, you leave yours, leave the phone, talk. But it's up to us to do those kind of things to encourage socialization. Not social media, but socialization. You want children to talk to one another. If we learn to talk to one another, I am certain that we won't have as many of these kind of conflicts, foolishness that we have going on that sometimes result in our children going down the wrong path or putting significant challenges in their life because of the outcomes, managing the emotions and things.
Okay, we are. You're talking about the crime and keeping the children busy. Is there, like, in terms of the country, villages, like, are there hotspots? Or is there any time you find something happen anywhere?
Sometimes, and well, we use hotspots, and hotspot is subjective. You might call an area a hotspot because at a particular time, within a particular period, you might have a particular kind of incident happening there. On a frequent enough basis, so you might call it a hotspot. But a hotspot is like a stove. It's only hot when it's on.
Yeah.
So that may be a hotspot today. What's a hotspot today may not be the hotspot next week. So you might have a hotspot or hotspots when things pop up, and you realize based on your data sometimes that when you check, you see, okay, in this area, I'm seeing an uptick and a consistency of certain things, certain crimes going on. So then you would need to adjust your plan to deal with that, to quell, suppress, or whatever the case might be, whichever might be the most appropriate action. So yes, I don't want to necessarily, sometimes we say hotspots, and as a society we tend to stigmatize a particular area. Anyway, it can be a hotspot. It just depends on what's going on over a
Yes.
particular period. And again, sometimes you have things like that happening because we as a society, as a community, sometimes tend to see and stay quiet
That's true.
for whatever the reason. Some reasons, yes, might be sufficiently legitimate. But if you want to protect yourself, the best way to protect yourself is if you see something, to say something.
I was about to ask you if you have any instances where a child would just tell y'all something is happening.
We would have, well, sometimes the children, well, and depending on the age, who are more forthcoming. But then again, the age also plays a role in terms of the evidence and how that is accepted. There are certain requirements for children of a tender age that the evidence, depending on what it is and depending on the age, would need additional support. Not that the court wouldn't take it, but that it would need additional support. Or sometimes the court would have to do an inquiry or an assessment to ensure that that child understands right from wrong. So that we understand when you're asking them the questions, that you can determine what level, what weight you can give to what they're saying. So when it comes to the children, there's a number of nuances that we have to take into consideration. But at the end of the day, the primary thing is what we feed into our children, is what we generally would get out. Either through some cases we push things that should not be, we involve our children in things that would not be in their best interest, and sometimes it's through neglect. So we have the acts of commission and the omission. So we need a balance in terms of what we allow our children to participate in. And I'm not against independence, but we have to manage the level of independence that we allow our children. They need some direction. It can't be hands off. At least it
That's
should
right.
not be hands off.
Yeah.
Shouldn't allow the children to try and raise themselves. The potential for disaster is too great. So we need to do some work personally in investing time and resources into our children. And sometimes that is what is missing mostly, not necessarily. Because we work hard so that they could have what they need, but they don't just need the shoes and they don't necessarily need the name brands.
That's right.
But that's me talking.
No.
That's not the view you are saying, Christopher. That's my
Yes,
view. They don't
yes.
need the name brands. Properly clothed, clean, and fed. Sometimes what the children need most is our time.
That's true.
They need to see us physically doing things with them, physically inputting into them. And sometimes that carries more weight, and more often than that, in terms of what I've seen, that carries more weight than the name brands because they see genuine care. And for children who I see get that, ask the teachers, how often do they have issues of behavioral issues with
Yes,
those children
that's right.
who have their parents or parent who are properly involved in the education, who might show up to a PTA, who show up to another meeting, who show up to the sport day, and let the child see them that they are investing in them. I'll dare say that those children who get that kind of support are less likely and are the ones who give less behavioral issues in the schools. I'll dare say so. The statistics prove me wrong.
Well, I mean, yes, that's a very good point. But then you have the peer pressure too, eh?
Peer pressure has always been around. And peer pressure is not just the children. Peer pressure is the adults.
Oh, yeah.
so-
But that's what I'm saying.
So again,
sometimes.
talk to your children. And sometimes it's not, well, talk to your children, and sometimes it's what we model for our children. But, and again, it's the society. Again, this is my personal view. But I think bullying is a big thing now. When we put a name on it, put a stamp on it, we
Yeah.
publish it. But we have always had some
That has
level
always
of that
been
kind
there,
of thing
and we used to
across the
deal with
board.
it in
Yes.
our own way.
I don't want to sound negative, but I think sometimes that we, in trying to do good, are preventing our children from learning how to manage some of
Yes.
those difficult situations. So, in every incident that they think that when they deal with it a certain way,
Yeah.
get depressed, push as opposed
Yes,
to
yes.
stand up for themselves, recognizing who they are, and for us to emphasize to them that regardless of what anybody else might say, this is who you are. And nobody can change that with the words. Nobody can change that with
Yeah, yeah.
anything they do. Those are the things that we need to emphasize so that when they are faced with these challenges, that they are able on their own to properly deal with it, because we won't always be there.
That's right.
We won't always
That's
be there.
right.
And if we don't do that now with the children, when they migrate into adulthood, and sometimes we have to say that lightly, because age, legally adult, but sometimes the age and the level of maturity and the
Yeah,
things that
maturity
you
doesn't come with age.
you wonder.
Yes.
get. But if we don't encourage them to stand up for themselves and recognize the value in themselves, now, again, by the positive thing that we allow them, we put them in the positive words that we speak into them, so that when ZIZ is looking for somebody, they get somebody of a particular quality who can present themselves properly and who doesn't cause a headache as a member
Yes.
of the team because of what was done at home and what they got as a society. And those are the things that we need to emphasize. No,
Yes.
I think we need to do a better job of that.
Well, as we wrap up, it's
Yes.
9:51. As we wrap up, since we went that way, let me ask you, how long have you been policing?
Oh, let me see. This is 2026. I joined the force officially on the 1st of November 1994.
Wow.
1994. That was I answered the call the second time. The first time they called me, I didn't go. And that was like 2 years before. So since 1994. But again, I was going college, technical college, doing electrical engineering. And I remember, actually up to yesterday, I told this story. I was walking down Fort Thomas Road, a friend of mine. Both of us were doing electrical engineering. And we were walking down Fort Thomas Road. And I remember some persons there sitting on the road and called me, but they referred to me as officer. I had no plans to join the police force.
Really?
In 1990.
So you look like a police.
But
Your persona.
apparently, just the way I behave. But I spent, on Saturdays, I had family in the police force. On Saturdays, some of the time, I spent time in the police station in Bastille,
Oh.
recreation room. It was they had they would sell food, I forget the name.
Yeah, the canteen.
But
and
the
stuff.
canteen.
Yeah.
So I would be in there as a teenager.
Okay.
So I was exposed to that early.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, personally, because I was exposed to that. And home, the upbringing, I told persons, when I left home and I went to training school, the only difference with how I was required to behave in training school and how I was required to behave at home, instead of saying, yes, ma'am, was yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Only difference because I couldn't answer my mother and say yes, just say yes. So she said, Marvin, I said, yes. Marvin, yes. I said, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, she insisted that when you spoke and somebody called you, when you answer and you say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, yes, whoever.
That's right.
So when I went to training school at Johnny Force, that was natural, that was normal. They made us eat with knife and fork when we went to training school. But my mother, during a certain time, insisted that we had to learn.
Yes.
So when I went to training school and they said we had to do that, those were things that just came naturally. So again, foundation was home. And what I got, the foundation I got with home and what we were allowed to get involved in. Again, she managed what we were not going to get involved in. So Calypso show and those things, I couldn't go randomly. She said no. So we in the home and the parents need to manage those things. So I don't think I had any, and I didn't have any intention of staying that long. So it has been almost 32 years.
Yes. So it's a passion. You say because
the first 10 years were difficult. It was challenging at different times. But I think I found my strides somewhere around year 12, 15.
okay.
So maybe it's like 20 years ago. I started finding a stride. It took a while to find the different things that I enjoyed. I worked at immigration for a while. I liked immigration. I would have stayed immigration.
Okay.
The other thing, because when I was asked the two places I would want to work, it was the training school or immigration. I ended up at the training in 2015. I left immigration in 2012.
Okay.
The transition between officially I'm at training school still, but I like where I'm at. It's not always easy, definitely not always convenient, but I like what I'm doing. I don't mind some of the other things in the force, but in terms of what you genuinely like, it would be training. So again, but
Yes.
So yes, so that I like. So if you say it's a passion, I've always like teaching, sharing
Yeah.
as a passion. So that for me was a good fit.
Okay.
So I don't mind. I hope the commissioner not listening, but for training, they could milk me at training school without much. Well, I wouldn't grumble, so they could walk me like a horse at training school.
At
I
training
could take
school.
it without much issue
Yeah.
because I like what I'm doing there.
Okay.
And generally, I think that is generally the case with most persons. If you're in a place
Once you
that
find
you
your
like,
niche, yeah,
it doesn't feel like
you're not
work.
working, right?
It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like work.
For me, people tell me,
Yes.
"Yes,
so-
he always at the station." It comes like nothing to me. I just
Exactly.
enjoy it.
You like
Yeah.
what you're doing. So you're just
Yes.
enjoying yourself doing what you're doing.
Yes,
The good thing about it is that you get paid for doing what you're doing.
I know that.
And again, so yeah, but
So thank you so
Yes.
much. So basically, it's 9:57 in the studio. So you wanna just go over in a nutshell
so yes,
what?
we're just encouraging our parents, all of us, I'm involved with myself too, that we just get our children involved in some positive activities for the summer vacation. Get them involved, not just to keep them away from negative influences and negative activities, but that also helps to cultivate the kind of individuals that we want them to be. When we get them involved in the music, the sports, and the other extracurricular activities, we help to develop the kind of future leaders that we know that they can be. But we have to do our part, make the sacrifices where we need to be, get them involved in positive activities.
I mean, you said something that you joined the Boy Scouts when you were 10.
I joined the Scouts when I was
Yes.
10 years old.
And I'm here remembering that
When I was
when I was younger, we had something to do every day, you know. We either went to music class to play piano, to
I
play
went
guitar.
piano when I was in third
Yeah,
form.
we
I
had
played
to learn
organ.
that. Or we went to netball, we went to football, something we were
Yes.
doing, either playing some sport, or I was in girls, the Girl Guides, or the Brownies, something was there
And
to
the
do.
activity, the outside activity is important. We
Yeah.
need to, children need to get a little less screen time. They need to put down the phone a little bit and run around a little bit more.
That's right.
And so we need to encourage that for the health of the mind and the body.
That's right.
So we need to encourage that for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Inspector.
And thank you for sharing
It
the
was
conversation.
nice chatting with you this morning. I
Nice.
really was wondering what are we going to talk about, but that was quite good. Have a good day. God
I
bless
do.
you, and
And
all the best as you
All right,
continue.
thank you. And good day to everyone who's tuned in. Tune in again next week for a similar program. Bye.
Policing with you.
Bye.
Okay.
Tell me what you think about Marcus. Tell me what you think about